pathway made available to go to heaven, but that we might become victorious over sin even here on this earth, in this present life. Lord, we ask that you will help our unbelief, that we will feed on your word, and that we will seek at all times to manifest your perfect character, Lord, that we may live up to the word, that we should indeed be perfect, even as our Father in heaven is perfect. We're thankful that you have brought us all together for such a time as this. We're thankful for all the information that you have made available to your people, whereby we may obtain health, that we may have that healthy body, blood system, and nerves by which we are able to communicate with the Holy Spirit, that we may obtain that perfection. As we go through this presentation tonight, we ask that your Holy Spirit will be in the midst, that you add on to us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Most of all, Father, help us not to just be hearers, but also doers of the word as we apply the information that will be disseminated. This and more blessings we ask in your Son, Jesus Christ's name, I pray. Amen and amen. All right, friends. So organs of elimination. Let us just do a quick recap, from what we looked at last week. Now, what are the organs or the pathways or the body systems that work together to filter and eliminate toxins, pathogens, and metabolic waste? And what is metabolic waste? You have to remember that we are walking uh, chemistry labs on her, for lack of a better word. So all those chemical processes that are carried out within the body to sustain life through its various functions is what you call, your metabolism. And they produce waste. They use inputs and they produce outputs. And some of those outputs are waste products that need to be removed from the body if life is to be sustained. And what are those organs or body systems? Lymphatic system going in, the clockwise direction, right? The lungs, how you breathe, your skin, your blood, your circulatory system, your kidneys, your liver, and your intestines. And tonight we'll be looking in a more detailed way at the intestines. Now, why are the organs of elimination necessary? The human body, it is exposed to a wide range of toxins, pollutants, and harmful substances on a daily basis. And the level of exposure can vary from place to place depending on how polluted your environment is, the kind of foods that you're exposed to, how your food and where your food is grown, what is used on them. All these, play factors determining your level of exposure. And in order to maintain optimal health and well-being, it is not just essential, it is most essential for the body to detoxify and to eliminate these harmful substances. And tonight we'll be focusing, or should I say, we will be narrowing our focus to the bowels, to the intestines, that system of elimination that leads to defecation. Now, I have a question to ask all y'all. Where do you believe that this particular system begins? Where does this particular system begins its work? Is it in the stomach? Is it in the large intestines, the small intestines? Where do you believe this work begins? By show of hands, every class, I need to give out some A's. So let me see who will be collecting my first A tonight. Let me see. Michelle, we have in their hands. Do they have the ability to open their mics?
Yeah.
Okay, so who is first? I see Arlene. I see your mic is open, Arlene. Let me see if we can get an A.
The mouth.
The mouth.
Yes.
Excellent. A, you get an A. Why the mouth, Arlene?
Because when you start to eat, you chew the food. That's where the digestion begins.
Excellent. Triple A, Arlene, triple A. I was hoping to trick you out tonight, but Arlene is too bright. So she collect her A right off the bat there, and I thought I would get you guys tonight. Yes, indeed. It begins with the chewing of the food. There is no good health without good gut health. And there is no good gut health without proper, or should I say, good elimination, right? And that process begins in the mouth with the proper mastication of the food. Chewing, that's just a fancy word for chewing your food very well, because chewing is a process by which you mechanically break down the food. That's what digestion is all about. It's about breaking down the food into its constituent components, right? Protein eventually will be broken down to amino acids. Carbohydrates will eventually be broken down to short chain sugars, glucose, and I believe fructose is also absorbed, right? And your fats will be broken down to your various fatty acids and lipids. But the process begins in the mouth, the mechanical breaking down of that food. And what happens is that when you don't chew your food properly, mechanically breaking it down, what will happen is that you will have too many large chunks of food that goes down into the stomach, right? They have not been broken down, so the surface area is too small for the digestive enzymes and acids to work on it and to break it down efficiently, and that is passed down into the intestines, right? And food that is not broken down and sent into the intestines become number one, they become a magnet for um bacteria, right? It encourages fermentation because that food, because it's not broken down, it cannot be absorbed, right? So it stays there and the bad bacteria can work on it and it can ferment. And if you have leaky gut, I'm going to be talking about that a little bit further on, right? These large food particles can actually pass through your gut membranes when you have something called hyperpermeability of the gut. What that means is that instead of your gut being a sealed tube, you have little holes in there, more like a sieve, right? And these larger food particles can pass over into the blood. And then guess what? Your immune system begins to react against it. And that's where you start getting allergies and autoimmune conditions. But more on that later. Suffice to say, it is important that we properly chew our food so that the process of digestion can work efficiently, and it will also aid in elimination. All right. So very much so, right, Eileen, it begins with the proper chewing of your food. Now, as I was saying last week, if you guys remember, you can find the application of the laws of health in almost all of these various systems. Now, Sister Arlene and Brother Taylor and Dr. Lamley, they are not, it's not Sister Arlene, the cow, the ruminant, is not Brother Tesmond, the goat who's always chewing his mouth. That's not how we were designed. We are human beings. We are not the beast of the field. And as human beings, God has designed us that we should operate on a system of regularity. As Solomon says, for everything, there is a time, right? And there's a time to eat and a time not to eat. Unfortunately, how the modern world has, devolved is that there's a very high availability of food. So every time you feel peckish, you can just put something in your mouth. Even if it is one pea, your body treats it as a meal, and the digestive powers are brought into play to try and to digest that meal. And it should not be that your digestive system should be brought into play every single hour of the day. Sister White says that the stomach is the most abused organ of the body, right? There should be periods of rest in between your meals. Optimally, we should be eating twice per day. We should be having 2 meals per day, but there are some people who can't manage and maybe three, but certainly no more than three. And these meal times should be set, meaning that the body operates best on a disciplined system where the periods of eating and rest are regular, meaning that you eat at the same time every single day, and your digestive system rests at the same time every single day. In other words, your meal times should be set. Now, why is this necessary? When you eat, the food that you eat needs to be digested. Okay. And depending on what you eat, you can take anywhere between 3 hours if your meal is a very simple meal, all the way up to all the way up to 5 hours, right? For that meal to be completely digested. And during the process of digestion, your body needs to be producing the enzymes and the various gastric juices and acids that are used to break down and to digest that food. Now, after that process is done, your stomach needs to rest, recuperate, and to, replenish the various resources that are necessary for digestion to take place efficiently and completely. Now, what happens when you're eating five, six, seven, eight, 9 times for the day, aka snacking, what is really a meal, is that number one, the first meal you had was not completely digested. And when you eat before that meal is completely digested in the 5 hours, the 4 to 5 hours that it takes, is that the process of digestion has to stop, and then it has to prepare to receive the new meal that you have now taken in. Now, what happens to that food that is partially digested and wasn't finished digesting, and they add another meal on top of it, and digestion has to be begin over? Same thing like when you leave out food on the counter all day, it begins to what? Somebody tell me. What happens to that food? Come, I need to give out another A. Come on, guys. We have a lot of
Begins
A's
to
to give out this
spoil.
evening.
It begins to
It
spoil.
begins, it begins to spoil. But use the better word that we want to hear. That begins with F. It begins to
Ferment.
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 Fermentation. Yes.
Fermentation takes place. Exactly. Now, what is one of the products of fermentation? What's one of the things that is produced through the process of fermentation? Make I put the question another way. I know
Gas.
I don't even know who just spoke. Well, somebody said gas. True, it can cause bloating, right? So I want to give you a minus. I want this one a A plus. Come on, folks. What deadly thing?
Alcohol.
Alcohol. Who said alcohol a while ago? Cynthia. Yes, A plus. Alcohol is produced. As a matter of fact, I like to say that your belly becomes a little biodigester, you start producing alcohol and gas, but the more important thing is alcohol, which is a toxin to the human system. So when fermentation takes place in the stomach, because we are not practicing temperance and discipline in our eating and eating in between our meals, the blood literally becomes poisoned through fermentation and the production of alcohol, right? That's why some of us, we can't think straight. That's why we can't act right. That's why the Holy Spirit can't communicate with our minds, whereby we may develop that perfection of character, lack of temperance in eating. So no snacking in between your meals. Regularity in eating meals is a very important part of good gut health and maintaining your health overall. Um, where am I? Right. So the meal spacing is very important, at least 5 hours apart. 6 hours is even better so that the stomach can rest. And regularity in the eating, and this will all lead to regularity in the elimination of the leftover, the draught of, of digestion. Whatever's left behind needs to now be eliminated from the body. Ideally, for every meal that you eat, you should have an elimination. You should be defecating for every single meal, right? So if you're eating 2 times per day, you need to be going to the bathroom 2 times per day, 3 times per day, likewise. And in some cases, when the system is running really good, it can even be more. But at least for each meal, you should have an elimination matching for that meal. Now, the contents of our meal is also, it plays a very important role in the process of elimination. Now, from you chew the food and you swallow it, there's a continual process that goes on right through from the mouth to the anus that is called, I think, how do you pronounce it again? Peristalsis, where there is a contraction of the smooth muscles. Because remember, your digestive system, your gut is just basically a large tool from tube that runs from your mouth all the way to your anus. And it is muscular. All of it is muscle. And what happens is that from you start to swallow, there's a rhythmic contraction of that muscle. The smooth muscles lining that your what's the word? Your digestive tract that moves the food right along through the various stages of swallowing to digestion to absorption to elimination. But for the muscle to work well, it has to have something to act against. Your food has to have a little bulk to it, right? And that is where the fiber in your food becomes very important. Now, what is fiber? Fiber is the cellulose in food that basically your body can't digest, right? Your body can't break it down. It is too well built, for lack of a better word, that your body can't break it down. It plays very important role in bulking up your stool so that your body is able to act against it and to move it along smoothly and efficiently. And that is why we said that your meal should begin with what? A fruit, if it's a fruit-based meal, or a vegetable, to make sure that you're having that bulk, that fiber in your diet. And fiber also plays another very important role. So the first important role that fiber plays is that it aids in the efficient elimination of the draught from the body. And it helps to sweep up any other waste material in the gut. It helps to move bacteria out, but it also helps in the balancing and the maintenance of your gut microbiome, right? What is your gut microbiome? In your gut, there are many microorganisms, bacteria and fungi that live together side and side. There are good ones as well as bad ones. And to feed the good ones, they actually feed on the fiber in your food. All right? That is what they actually work on. Now, to maintain good gut microbiome, you have to treat your good bacteria well by giving them healthy food to eat, which is the fiber. When you have a fiber-rich diet, the good gut bacteria will be able to push out, for lack of a better word, eliminate the bad gut bacteria, right? You have a good gut microbiome, meaning that there is a balance of forces in your gut. The good guys have the upper hand and they keep the bad guys under control. They outcompete them for space because that is literally what is taking place. There's like a tug of war. The bad bacteria is trying to take over, and the good bacteria is resisting them. If you don't feed and maintain your good bacteria well, they will be overcome by the bad bacteria. And what you will have is what we call a dysbiosis of the gut. And that is where you can start having IBS. And there's a particular one, something of bacteria syndrome. Oh, the word is missing my mind right now. But basically, where there's an overproduction of the bad gut bacteria because there's not enough fiber in your food, right? You are eating too much processed foods, too much meat, too much sugar, and that's a funny thing. Sugar feeds the bad bacteria, and fiber feeds the good bacteria, right? And whichever man you feed the most is the man that will have the strength, right? So when you have too much sugar, too much simple carbohydrates, too much processed foods, you contribute to the dysbiosis of the gut. And that is something that you don't want, because that is what leads to leaky gut syndrome. And leaky gut syndrome leads to a whole other host of diseases because the intestines were designed to keep everything in. It was never intended that anything should leak out, right? And as you know, the body is made up out of cells. And how the gut is designed is that there's something called villi and microvilli inside the gut. What it does is, if you can think about if you can pull into your mind a picture of the gut, and I think we can use the one on the screen right here. You will notice that there are a lot of folds in the gut, right? Inside those folds are more folds. If you keep on, magnifying down, folds within folds within folds. And when it gets down to the smallest level, it's almost like there are millions of little fingers um, coating the entire intestines, right? That is for, increasing the surface area to absorb into the bloodstream the nutrients from your diet. At the smallest level, the these villi, they are one cell thick, right? So it's actually made up out of cells, and it is one cell thick so that you can absorb the nutrients. And these cells should be tightly fitted together. Try imagine that you put your fingers in between your fingers and you put them, jam your hands together very tightly, right? You can imagine that that is like the cells of the gut. Nothing should be able to move between the intracellular space between, you know, the lining of the gut, the cells that make up the lining of the gut. What happens when you have dysbiosis of the gut is that these cells begin to pull apart. That junction begins to start to loosen, and the glue between them begins to break down because of these bad gut bacteria. And then when you don't chew your food properly, when you eat the wrong types of foods, what you have is macromolecules or big food particles begin to slip in between these junctions and get into the bloodstream. That is a condition that leads to a host of problems, allergies, autoimmune conditions, especially if you're eating a flesh-based diet. People wonder how it is that they start to develop things like um, arthritis. All of a sudden you are told that you have rheumatoid arthritis. Everybody who I come across that tells me that they have that condition, the first thing I ask them, do you eat a flesh-based diet? Yes. You like to chew up the bones and eat the gristle? Yeah, mom, I love that. So what happens now? They don't break down the gristle of the bone, so to speak. It passes through the intestines unbroken down, and that cartilage, aka the gristle, macro particles are able to seep into the blood. And then your immune system looks at this macrofood particle and say, but this should not be here. And it begins to attack it because it is coming from an animal that is not you. But what happens is that animal cartilage kind of look like your cartilage. And when the immune system begins to train to attack, develop antibodies to deal with these macro food particles that are leaking in from the gut. After a while, it begins to look at your cartilage and say, but wait, no, the same thing, this man, and begins to attack it. Then you have rheumatoid arthritis. And the list of various allergies goes on. Asthma, you know, all sort of autoimmune conditions can result from leaky gut, allergies, and a host of other things. All right. So gut health just not only plays a role in that you need to have good elimination. It has serious implications for the proper regulation of your immune system and therefore your health. So chew your food properly, ensure that you're having high fiber diet by having guess what? A plant-based diet. Once you have a plant-based diet, automatically you will have a high fiber diet. Because everything from the plant kingdom has in what? Fiber. Your brown rice having the fiber. Your beans having the fiber. Your legumes having the fiber. The fruits, the vegetables, everything you eat has in fiber. And what you'll find is that everything that comes from the natural kingdom has all the things that you need, right? In every plant-based thing that you eat, you will find fiber, you will find carbohydrates, you will find proteins, and you will find fats. Though, depending on what you eat, the various food groups may be more dominant. For like in peas, the the protein will be more dominant. In your seeds and nuts, the fats will be more dominant. You know, in your grains, the carbohydrates will be more dominant. In your vegetables, the fiber will be more dominant, right? So plant-based diet is the absolute best diet. God's design can't tell lie. It can never go wrong. It is always best. The Eden diet is the best diet for good gut health. Now, what are some of the other things that are important that you may not think about readily, right? Exercise, for example, another law of health, right? Very important for good gut health because it plays a role in toning the muscle of, that digestive tract. Like I said before, the digestive tract is basically a long muscular tube. And when you don't exercise it, it begins to lose tone, right? So when you exercise, you tone the entire body. And the best exercise is walking. Okay, it helps to keep that digestive system well toned. Another good thing to do is that after each meal, you go for a short digestive walk. It helps to activate, that muscular tube and it aids in digestion, right? And it helps the process of elimination to work effectively, right? Now, some of you may be having issues when it comes to, eliminating. Some of you may have constipation issues and stuff like that. What is some of, the things that you can do to aid, this organ of elimination? Well, first of all, there is a package that we have, a detox package that we have that really cleans the colon very well. It is our complete healing or CHTLH detox kit, right? And that will pull any bung that you have, so to speak, right? But even without the kit, there are various things that you can do. You can, use the warm towel, place across the abdomen, right? As warm as you can manage it, right? And you can keep that on for 10, 15 minutes. Keeping that towel warm. If you have to re-dip it in the hot water to keep the temperature up, then you do that. And then afterwards you massage the abdomen with castor oil. But overall, all of us at least once a year should be doing a full detox, and the kit is available at all of our stores if you haven't done your detox for 2024 as yet, right? Yearly, you should be doing that detox, flushing that system out, right? And not only do we flush it out, we aid in removal. The kit aids in the detoxification of the liver and the kidneys and all the other um organs of elimination, we also reseal the guts and rebalance the gut microbiome with, the various other products that are in the kit to make sure that we're not leaving you with any leaky gut syndrome or anything of that sort. Another thing that is very important in the process, and another important mineral that is important in aiding the process of elimination through the gut is magnesium. Magnesium is needed for all forms of muscle movement, right? Anytime you have low magnesium, you'll find that people begin to experience a lot of muscle contracts and cramp. Their muscle, their neuromuscular skeletal system doesn't work well. And as I said before, the gut is lined with what? Muscles. So for your gut to work well, for you to have good gut health, you need to have magnesium. So when you come to the stores, make sure you ask for magnesium glycinate or mag magnesium citrate, or you can be asking for, what you call it again there, man, that you soak your foot in because you can absorb magnesium through the skin also. So sometimes when you're stressed out, you think you need more movement than what you're getting. A nice little foot bath in Epsom salt is good. And another very good salt that is high in magnesium, it has three different types of magnesium, is the Celtic salt. All these products you can find in our stores to help you maintain good gut health. No good gut health, no good health overall, because one of the channels of elimination, one of the most important channels of elimination, which is the bowels, the gut, will be affected by any weakness in any of these areas. So another important thing in good gut health is good digestion. A lot of us suffer from low acid in the stomach because we have been abusing the stomach for so many years, right? And sometimes you need a supplement to assist in that. That is, you can ask for betaine, HCl, and trienza or digestive enzymes, which will help to make sure that that food is properly broken down before it is released into the intestines. All right. Some of us, because of our many years of bad habits, breaking the laws of health, we have a dysbiosis of the gut. Therefore, we need to replenish those good gut bacteria, and that is where the biocult comes in very handy. If you have any form of allergies, you more than likely are suffering from a leaky gut syndrome, okay? And even probably weak digestion. And, these are supplements that will help in the overall fixing of that. You have to strengthen the digestion. You need to replenish the good bacteria, and then you need to feed them properly with a very high fiber, plant-based diet. So just in going over some of the key points. The bowels, the digestive system, is one of our most obvious detoxification system. Opening the bowels daily with an easy to pass tool will ensure that we are keeping things moving um, and clearing quickly. And somebody, I need to give out some more A's. What are the things that will help with the daily opening of the bowels and make it easy to pass stool? What are some of the things that we discussed in our discourse a while ago that will accomplish these things? Quickly.
Fiber.
Fiber in the diet. Excellent. What else? Somebody else knows. Everybody knows fiber, but what else did I mention that was very important to make sure that you are regularly able to keep that process of elimination going? What?
Magnesium.
Well, magnesium helps, yes, that is for sure, but that's not the key thing I'm looking for. Because if you're having magnesium and you're not doing this, you're going to still have a problem.
Exercise.
Exercise.
Exercise, yes, but even if you exercise and you're not doing this, you're still going to have a problem.
Keep
Drinking
a
adequate water.
plant-based diet.
Well, same thing as high fiber. Come on, I need to give up. You give up this triple A, man. Come on, guys. Triple A.
Triple A. Triple A.
Yes, triple A.
Drink
All
enough
right, you
water.
guys give up.
Chewing the food properly.
Chewing the food properly. That is correct, but that's not the one I am looking for, because even if you're chewing the food properly and you're not doing this, you're still gonna have a problem.
Water.
You could have drink the water till you swell up and bust. If you're still doing this, you still have a problem. Okay, I see you guys give up. Who? What?
Detoxifying.
No, I'm gonna tell you guys. Regularity in eating, right? You have to eat a set time each and every day. Once you begin to eat on time, it's like your body becomes trained. You will find that you pass your stool the same time pretty much every single day. My son, for example, between 8 and 9 every morning, bathroom time. In the evening by 5, 6 o'clock, he's again having to use the bathroom. So regularity in eating will lead to regularity in the process of elimination, of you passing your stools. If you're eating all over the clock, right? Eating in between meals, all sort of things. Food are packed up behind food. There is no proper spacing. The digestive process is impacted, right? Because you have to understand it. Anybody here is used to going to their bed at a set time. What happens to you when that time comes for you to go to bed? If every night you go to your bed at 8:30, what happens to you by 8 o'clock? 8:30, 9 o'clock every night. What happens?
Get sleepy.
It gets sleepy. It's as if the body knows that it is time for you to go to sleep. Same thing with digestion, right? The body is highly trainable, it's very intelligent. If you eat at the same time every day, what will happen is that at your meal time, your digestive juices, the production of digestive juice will begin to peak. Peristalsis will be ready. Everybody's system will come into play and be primed for the intake of that food. When you eat that food on time, that food is properly digested and disposed of quickly and efficiently and eliminated in likewise manner. Now, when you don't have that regularity, right, then that level of efficiency will be missing, right? That quickness of digestion and elimination will be absent. Okay? So the fiber and the regularity in eating, that practice of temperance, is what will lead to these things. Keep things moving quickly and clearing out, eliminating very quickly. Not to say that other things are not important. Water is very important. A lot of water is used during the process of digestion and elimination, right? Exercise for the proper toning of the muscles, making sure that you have enough magnesium in the system so that peristalsis can be strong and efficient. All these things are important, but the two bedrock things, fiber and regularity. Okay? Next one, if we have slow or infrequent bowel movements, it means that the toxins are sitting in our fecal matter waiting for excretion and can be reabsorbed in our system, especially in cases of dehydration. The body reabsorbs water from the stool, and in reabsorbing that water from the stool, you're pulling in back the toxins and the bacteria. And of course, every other system in the body is dependent upon the other systems. To keep things moving, the digestive system depends on the liver and the gallbladder to secrete bile in the small intestines, which helps in the breaking down of fats and to bind toxins. These waste products are then carried through the bowel movement for elimination. That is actually what gives your stool the color that it has, right? It is those bile salts from the liver and the gallbladder that gives it that sometimes green to brownish looking color, right? And that is low in fiber or dehydration and dysbiosis or an imbalance in the gut microbial community that is associated with the disease can decrease the optimal function of the bowels, resulting in constipation and other unpleasant digestive issues. If you find yourself reaching to that point, you need to come in, number one, obey the 8 laws of health, get help with the use of our CHTLH detox kit, right? Use up the digestive enzymes, the trienza, the betaine HCl and stuff like that. Get, your gut microbiome back on point with the use of probiotics. That's our biocult. Come in and let us help you. Without any good gut health, there is no good health. And without good elimination, no good gut health, no good overall health. All right, so let us treat this much abused system well. Let us do all that we can to maintain it, rebalance it, and to keep our bodies in good health. I hope this presentation has been helpful. Now, if we have any questions, we can address them before our time is completely done. How much minutes do we have left? Let me see the time. Right, we have about 10 minutes before we must close. So let's see if we have any questions. I think I saw Doc online, so there may be some points that she would like to point out for us. So let me open the floor at this time. Doc, are you there? Any points you want to add? Any questions? Okay, I don't see any hands. I don't hear any questions. That may not be at her machine at this time, but next week we'll be continuing with the liver.
Good night.
Yes, go ahead, Faith.
There's some questions in the chat.
Oh, there are some questions in the chat.
Yes.
Okay, let me check the chat. How many hours it takes before prepared foods starts to ferment? When you say prepared foods, you're talking about food that you prepare and put on the counter or put on the table? Or how long before it begins to ferment within the stomach? Let's see who asked the question. Brother
Yes.
Truth, could you just clarify the
Yes.
question a little bit?
That when your food cook and you said put on the counter like that. How long it takes
Okay.
before fermentation takes place?
It really depends on what type of food. What we are taught when we have to do our food handlers permit is that every hour that the food is left out and not kept at a certain temperature, meaning that when you cook food and put it down, if you're not using it immediately, there's a minimum temperature that should be maintained. I don't remember the temperature, but like when you go to food restaurants, they usually have the food in that hot water to maintain the heat. It's not just to make sure that you get a hot plate of food. It is to make sure that the bacteria can multiply because bacteria don't like it too hot and they don't like it too cold. I don't remember the correct temperature, but every hour that the food is not maintained at that temperature, the bacteria begins to multiply exponentially. Exponentially meaning that let's just use some simple numbers, right? For the first hour, you have 10 bacteria. At 2 hours, it will double. 10 times 10 is 100. You leave it for 3 hours, it will be 100 times 100, which will be what? 10,000. So it increases exponentially as the hours pass. So food should not be left out on the counter. You either use it, eat it, and digest it, or you maintain it at the suitable temperature that doesn't allow for the reproduction of bacteria, which is somewhere close to 100 degrees Celsius. I don't remember it exactly. Or you put it on the fridge. And when you're ready to eat it and consume it, you take it back out and warm it. But do not leave food out to sit on the counter, right? Food loves just the right temperature, warm, around room temperature, they love it. They begin to multiply and starts to break on the food and food begins to go bad. All right.
For the for the refrigerated temperature, I don't remember the heated temperature, but for the refrigerated temperature, it is 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below.
Or below. Correct. Thank you very much for that information. Good evening. How long to do a foot soak with Epsom salt? I believe it's between 15 and 30 minutes to do that, hot foot bath with the Epsom salt. And it is, I believe it's a quarter cup to every gallon. Correct, Doc? Doc, are you there? Is bread on the shelf good for you, even if it's whole wheat? Now, there are certain foods that can stay out without spoilage for a little while. Bread is one of them, right? Bacteria needs two things to multiply. It needs moisture, right? And it needs the correct temperature and it needs a good food source. Any one of the triad missing, bacteria is not able to replicate efficiently. Okay. So with the breads, the moisture content in a bread is usually very, 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 very low. So what that means is that bacteria is not able to readily reproduce in bread so readily, right? So you can leave that out on the counter for a little while. But if your bread doesn't have any preservatives, after a day or so, you need to store it in the fridge so that fungus don't take it up, right? It don't begin to produce any mold. All right. And indeed, the wheat these days is very different. It's hybridized wheat, especially the GMO wheat. We recommend that you stay away from it. If you want to be using wheat products, try to get the non-GMO wheat types. All right. Don't eat these hybridized GMO wheats. They're very deadly for your health, very detrimental for your health. And that wheat, the GMO wheat, contributes to the hyperpermeability of the gut. It helps you to develop leaky gut syndrome, and it is very destructive to the healthy you know, your gut microbiome. It disrupts the gut microbiome. This GMO wheat leads to dysbiosis of the gut and should be avoided as much as is reasonably possible. Better yet, completely at all. Jaylee, you have a question, but you're driving, you can just open your mic and ask it. Right, exactly. If you
Good
have
night.
coconut milk.
Yes, I just wanted to ask a quick question.
Mhm.
If you know of someone, like I know of someone who has like a lot of allergies, they can't eat this, they can't have that, and they're in a lot of severe pain.
Mhm.
So, listening to you now, I'm thinking they have leaky gut, and they probably don't
Yeah,
even
more
know.
than likely. Yeah, man, more than
So,
likely.
so that means the toxins from inside is leaking out into their bloodstream because they're in
Not
like
only
a
the
lot of pain.
toxins, but the food particles.
Okay.
Yeah. So from what your son is sounding like they're having irritable, like they could be developing IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. Everything they eat
No, not
hurt them.
not IBS. It's just that they can't eat a lot of stuff anymore, like what they used to eat.
Okay.
They have to be very particular on what they basically eat at this point right now. But because of that, they're in a lot of pain, like a lot of joint pain and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just
Exactly.
thinking that
Exactly. Leaky gut, man.
I'll tell them to listen to your the recording for this and tell them to get in contact with Dr. Lemley to see if they could get like some good recommendation for the leaky gut and how they can recover from it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And more than likely having the grain allergies, once you start talking about those giants and stuff like that, yeah, man, they're having hyperpermeability of the gut. You know, a lot of those macro food particles are able to leak across. And
Okay.
they usually manifest a lot of times in joint pains and stuff like that. You ever hear they say no grain, no pain? You know, they need to be
Mhm.
off that wheat. They need to heal and seal their gut for them to have any hope of restoration. So have them contact us indeed. I believe we should be of help in terms of,
Okay, thank
with
you.
that situation.
All right then.
Yeah, man. All right, friends. I think I don't see any more questions. I don't see any more hands. It is now 2 minutes to 8:30, so we have come to the end of our time together this evening. We'll continue next week with the liver, which is, I think Barbara Thinner likes to call it the central control system of the human body. All right. It is Doc's favorite organ, so more likely she will be your presenter next week, but we'll see how things work out. Well, thank you everyone for coming. And yes, Jangali, the recording is already there. They just need to go to our channel, CHTLH Ministry on YouTube, and they'll be able to find the recording on our channel. Tell them to subscribe. All right. Our numbers are in the store if you need any of our products. If you believe it's time for you to do a cleanse, if you need any of the supplements, the magnesium, the digestive enzymes, the probiotics, I can't over recommend them to you. Our numbers are in the chat. Get in touch, and it will be our honor to help God's children. Okay. So thank you very much. Have a good night. Blessings, everyone.